In this video, we're going to talk briefly about how to calculate holding period return. So let's think about an investment. We invested and we put $1,000 in an investment. That investment has grown to $1,300. Let's assume that over this time frame we had received a total of $75 in cash flows. And at least initially, let's assume that this took exactly 1 year to happen. So the investment time is 1 year. If the investment time is 1 year, then we actually have two calculations here. We have the return, which is just the overall dollar return, not considering time value. And then we have the HPR, or the annualized return, that adjusts for compounding. So in this case, this investment would have a 37% return. Now, what if we held this investment for 3 years? Now, the return itself is not going to change, but when we incorporate the time value of money, it's going to spread this return out over 3 years. So without considering the actual concept of time value of money, this number is going to roughly decrease to a third. So that way you get a third of the return each year for 3 years. Now compounding is going to change that slightly. And you can see here that we end up with 11.2%. So you get 11.2% the first year, and then the next year you get 11.2%, but you also get 11.2% on the return from the first year. So compounding, right, is going to change the value when we annualize the rate of return. So you're actually going to get 11.2% on average per year. What would happen if it only took a half a year? Well, half a year essentially goes from 37.5 to 89.06. So again, it's more than doubles. Just even though it's half the time, it more than doubles, because you're going to be able to actually invest twice. Earn 37.5% the first half of the year, 37.5% the second half of the year, but also 37.5% on the money that you earned the first half of the year. So compounding is what's going to change this actual return. So what number, as an investor or as a business person, which number is most appropriate? If we're talking about time frames of more than 1 year, then we want to always look at the HPR, because it gives us the time value adjusted approach, if you will. Less than a year, quite frankly, it doesn't much matter that much less than a year. However, if you want the exact number, you need to calculate and take into account the actual holding period return. So that's essentially what we need to know about holding period return itself. So we could ask some other questions. These are really more theoretical. If you knew that the effective rate of return was 37.5%, what is that rate in a continuously compounded rate? That is 31.85%. And of course, if you knew that the continuously compounded rate was at 31.85, what would the effective rate be? That would be 37.51 in this case, because I didn't round everything out. So again, we only have a couple of simple questions we can ask here, but the application is pretty straightforward. So that is the time value approach to holding period return.